I can hear you.
Yay.
That's much better. Yeah, every time I spoke, it was just like this. I don't know. I was like, I don't know how long I could communicate like that. Fantastic. Well, I'm super excited to meet you finally, and please forgive me for being a little bit starstruck because I, I like you publish so much music constantly, and you just like every single day there's just so much content, and I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, you're just like a big star in my universe. So if at any stage I
Thank
just start to wander around in circles, you'll know why.
you. Yeah, that's how my brain feels. I'm always kind of bombarded because by the time I finish writing a song, I'm always on to the next thing, on to the next thing. So, thank you. I appreciate all your music as well. Thank you. This is exciting.
Thank you. And yeah, I find it rare to meet people that create as much as me, and it's really refreshing because I feel like, I'm not I'm not the only one. Um, so that's really cool. But yeah, I'd love to just start with some basics, and if you could tell us a bit about yourself, like who are you, where'd you come from, what are your passions at this time?
Okay. Well, I grew up in New York City. I was born and raised in New York City. Um, and music, a lot of people ask me sometimes like how I started with music or how I chose music, but as I don't know if this sounds corny, but I mean it's my truth, but I feel like music chose me really because I have home videos and pictures from when I was a toddler and I would always like jump on the couch with like a pretty dress and just like sing nonsense lyrics. So like music has always been within me. So
Hmm.
I've always done music since I was little. I used to write little poetry and then I would turn them into lyrics and then just kind of perform. And then my parents saw I had an interest in music, so they would buy me either little karaoke machines or like a piano, like a little keyboard. And then I started doing street fairs and going into recording studios from 11 and then literally just pursued music, in school when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. I was doing things like I was in the choir, musical theater, just anywhere I could seep into that had to do with music, I was all involved in it. So and then writing was always my passion, more than playing an instrument or singing. It was always writing for me. But I'm
Wow.
not completely trained though, so I mean, I have plenty of limitations, but everything is self-taught. But I do what I can.
That's amazing. Yeah, me too. Um, I think I had like a one or two, maybe like two guitar lessons when I was at school. Um, and I've had about three or four singing lessons, but yeah, I I don't really know any music theory. Um, and it's super liberating at the same time, humbling. Um, and so you you learned quite a few instruments on your journey, right? So do you know like how many instruments you can play now?
I don't know. Well, I started on piano. I'd like to say, I guess officially my first instrument, I guess, was my voice. And then my
Mm.
first other instrument was piano. I started off on the keyboard, but I always had a big passion for percussion, so I learned a lot of different percussion instruments. Especially I've really had I was always involved in drum circles too, so I have a djembe that I always play with. And then I love the Irish tin whistle, and absolutely in love with my Irish low D whistle, which was interesting to learn after learning the Irish tin whistle because it's a whole different hand position.
Wow.
You have to have a piper's grip and everything, and it was fun to learn. Um, and then I played a little bit of guitar, a little bit of ukulele, hammered dulcimer. I have a bowed psaltery, which is really, really pretty, but I don't use it too much. But I mean, I kind of found my soulmate instrument with my harp though, because once I first touched the harp, I knew that that was my instrument of my dreams.
Yeah, your harp music, all your music is incredible. Like your and I think when I like the first time I saw you, I was like, you're playing harp, and I was thinking it just sounds beautiful, and
Yeah.
I hadn't really listened to a lot of harp music, and then you started singing as well, and I'm like, oh my God, like, you're so talented, and I think it wasn't until a few videos later, it's like, it's not just that you do, and you also dance as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was always involved in even since elementary school, I was involved in different multicultural groups because that's one thing I was grateful about growing up in New York City is that I was surrounded by so many different cultures and so many different types of music and everything. So I was always involved in multicultural dancing competitions and things like that. So dancing is always another part of my life, another passion. Yeah.
Wow, no, that's really cool.
Thank you.
Um, and I saw, I think the first time I saw you dance, like you were doing like salsa dancing,
Yes.
was it?
hmm
Um, which isn't that really hard? Doesn't that take like a long time to learn?
I mean, even with dancing, I've been dancing since, I mean, I dance while I'm cooking, so I feel like there's not a time I don't dance. So I'm always dancing. I had friends that were from all over the world, so I would just kind of watch and learn. Um, so I kind of grew up just dancing, just different types of music. I had friends from the Caribbean, I had friends from, Latin America, and I would go to their houses and their parties, and I would just pick up on every which way they were dancing, and I just loved learning dances from all over the world, really. It was
Oh, that's
interesting.
fantastic. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
hello to Liliane who's in the chat. Thanks for popping in. Um, and yeah, I'd love to learn some more about your like the inspiration for your music. Like, but maybe we should. I have so many questions. I'll just one at a time, one at a time.
Yeah.
So one is like your tell if you could describe your process. So like, do you have like one workflow of like creating a song, or do you have like lots of different ways, or what if you're
There
about to start writing a song, like what would you do next?
Music comes to me, and I mean this in the best way, but it comes to me as a bit of chaos, honestly. But a beautiful chaos, if you will. Because sometimes I'll just sit by my harp and just kind of noodle away and just start playing something, and then strike some kind of note, and then that inspires a song. Or sometimes I'll have a song in my dreams, and then I wake up and I kind of develop it that way. Or sometimes I go through something wonderful or horrible, and that will inspire a song. So literally, it comes in so many different ways and from so
Mm.
many directions. And then I'm like a mad woman trying to find a voice recorder, trying to record it while it's still fresh in my brain. But it literally comes from different angles. And usually, when I'm very busy and I don't have time to record, it usually comes at the wrong times, you know.
I, I love that. Yeah, in your dreams, like what happens? Do you like could you describe the last time that happened? Like what happened when you woke up?
Well, I've had conversations about this with people, and people seem to look at me with like I have two heads when I mention this, but it's kind of true. Since I was little, I always have kind of a soundtrack to my dreams. So if the
Oh,
dream is kind of nightmare or sad, the music is ominous or just really sad. Or if the music is kind of peaceful, if I have dreams of being around nature, so my dreams usually have a soundtrack to them. Um, so sometimes it comes like that, or sometimes I'll have a dream that I'm performing somewhere and it's a song that I've never heard before, but it just kind of came to me as a few notes and then I develop it the next day. So it works like that, but usually it comes in the form of like a movie score.
oh, I love that so much. That's so cool. Like, yeah, I don't know if I've gone through that of hearing songs. I've been given like lots of I've written lots of songs about the dreams themselves,
Oh, nice.
and about quite a few times in meditation I've been to like one I'm trying to remember the name of the song I wrote now. Welcome to this this new age or new world, I think it was called, and I could hear it like when I just like I was just like about a minute into meditation, I could just hear the song, and I was like I was kind of like floating through the clouds and then landing in this new planet, and I was like I need to write that song, and I was listening to it. It's like I've already written that song. Like that's me playing it. And my mind's like, okay, is it past, present, future? It's like it doesn't matter. It's like one version of me needs to write it.
So,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Um, and and tell me about your like your styles because you have like such an eclectic like range. I love like the way you just explore all these different styles. And one is
Thank you, Christian.
yeah, that's beautiful.
I
Yeah,
get
so transporting.
credited a lot to the fact that I get excited really easy. So I see like a butterfly flying next to me, and people will tease me and be like, "Wow, she gets." It doesn't take much to please her, but I really try to be as present as possible,
Mm,
and I try to go hiking, and I'm trying to be in nature as much as possible because nature inspires me more than anything. So I try to find inspiration. I find that the more I'm present, the less I have to try, if that makes sense. Because the
yeah,
more I'm just in the moment, and when I'm hiking, I'm just thinking about the hike. I'm not thinking about what went wrong yesterday or what might go wrong tomorrow. I'm trying really hard to just be in the present, especially when I'm around nature, because I feel like nature is like a higher power for me that I have to respect and, be a part of and be aware of. So I find a lot of inspiration in nature, a lot. But I do get excited about a lot of things. So even if I have a wonderful conversation with a stranger, if I'm walking my dog and then somebody happens to be friendly who's also walking their dog and they look at me, we get eye contact and we smile, that'll make my day. So
yeah,
even that might inspire a song, depending. But speaking of meditation that you said before, for me, I feel like music is meditation for me for sure. Because
yeah.
there's times where I'm either in the writing process or in the performing process, and I literally just get lost in the music. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I can get lost somewhere sometimes. Like if life overwhelms me, I feel like it's my realm. You know what I mean? Music is my realm where I can escape, you know, run to and, kind of just create. And then I feel at peace when I'm creating. But
I love that so much. Yeah, it's like uh when like nature's so good at helping us receive, right? Like in that present moment. And I love that you're able to see the magic in everything, like being easily pleased, because it's just like it's everywhere all the time, all around us. And it's like, hello, over here. And I'm like, I'm too busy. I've got like a bill to pay, or like, I'm late for my something. I'm busy being a human. And yeah,
right.
like that ability to receive is so powerful. I think in today, like it's like in today's society, we're just taught like you've got to like create and like push all the time, and that's all you're meant to do. And yet, actually, we're our own gifts and our abilities are way stronger when we just
Mhm.
learn how to take time to receive and find the things like you're describing. Like I love hiking too, and also when I feel like that when I'm creating music is just like I just lost. Like I don't know about you, but I have to limit my time in the studio. Like in the each morning I'll just do an hour and it's like that's it. Like no more because literally like the sun would rise and fall and I'd be like, was that 2 hours? And it's like, no, it's 2 days. um
Too. That happens to me too. I love that you experience that because I feel that too. And it could be overwhelming, not in a bad way. It's overwhelming in a good way, but it's really interesting though. But as far as nature, that's something that I like to credit the fact that I work really hard at keeping my inner child alive all the time. No matter how old I get, I'll always keep that inner child alive because you notice that with children that everything excites them and everything is new and fresh to them. And as we grow older, because of the rat race, because of paying bills and taxes and everything we have to worry about, health or whatever, just everyday stresses, I feel like we lose a little bit of that inner child. Not that it's our fault, we're not trying to, but I make it a point. The same way I have a regimen of either exercising or eating well or drinking plenty of fluids, I make a point to stop and smell the roses quite literally, literally smell the roses. Like I will stop or I will touch a leaf every time I go out in nature. If people see me, they might think I'm weird, but that's okay. They don't get me. But every time I pass by trees, I'll say thank you, Mother Nature, and I'll touch a leaf because I really try to connect with nature like on a very deep level. So
Yeah.
it's very meaningful to me.
Oh,
Very
that's
meaningful.
incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, Christian was saying,
Yes.
yeah, fascination with the simple things in life. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And yeah, like the trees is like been a big theme for me over the last few weeks as well. Um, they're like such amazing souls, and just to take the time to just stand. Like I'm always walking my dog, so I get a lot of opportunities. He's like and he's never been neutered, so he's got a lot of opportunities to just stand next to trees, random trees, and like put your hands on them and say hello. Um, and yeah, I love that. It's like that connection. It's like they're just standing there waiting for a
Yes.
hand to
Yeah.
be placed on them and like just to talk. And sometimes I feel like I love that you say like it's okay that people don't get you, and it's so true. It's like if someone told me when I was a child like, did you know you can talk to trees? It's like, did you know you can talk to anything? They're like,
Yeah.
I never tried that. And I do with certainly my son. He's like 13, and we often just go up to trees, put our hands on the tree, and then like we'll take it in turns, and then we'll share like the message that we got through, which is really cool.
I love that. See, I'm quite a literal tree hugger, I really am because it's just always meant a lot to me. And even the books I write, because aside from music, I write novels, and even the books I write have also always there's always music and nature in them. And then the trilogy I'm working on now is about, again, fantasy creatures and mythology and in the woods. So I feel like my mind is always just there. And then that's another thing that was sad for me. I loved growing up in New York City because I loved being surrounded by a multicultural kind of universe, a little bit like that. But I missed trees, so
Yeah,
I knew I had to leave New York City when I was growing up there because I'm like, I want to be in a cabin in the woods. I don't want to be here. But you know, you find nature, and I make a point to appreciate it. Those are very important aspects of my life. But I do
well,
believe nature is listening. And I believe in all of that. I really do. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter who doesn't get me because the people who get me, I feel get me on a deep level. So that's beautiful, whoever does get me. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. If you know, if you be yourself and you express yourself, then those that totally that resonate will be attracted to that. But when we, I only ever struggle in my life when I try and be like other people, um, or try and hide the parts of me that are me. Um, yeah,
have
I
you
think that's.
ever done that? Where you hide parts of yourself?
Have I ever done it for
Yeah.
about 20 years of my life? Yeah,
That's why I ask because I can relate to you because there was things about me that I'm not gonna lie, I definitely tried to fit in, especially when I was
yeah,
younger. And that's why I'm so grateful as I get older. I have no qualms about my age. I have no qualms about growing older at all because I feel so much freer now than and
yeah,
more confident in myself because why am I going to worry about what other people think? Like, if I do touch a leaf and talk to a tree, or if I do sit there and talk to my dog, which even that apparently people think is weird, but I have entire conversations with my dog. Who cares? These are
oh, yeah,
living beings who have souls and just energy. And I believe in all that energy. And I like to be aware of it around me. And I try to put out good energy and I hope to receive good energy. So I'm just very comfortable in my skin now in a way that I wasn't when I was younger because I thought things like these were weird. But I thought to myself, well, why is ignoring a tree or cutting down trees, why is that more normal than talking to a tree? So I started just being myself and I felt freer.
yeah.
So yeah, I could relate to you because I did the same thing. I hid parts of myself and then I was like, nah, it's okay. I'm an elf at heart or a hobbit or whatever, so that's fine. Be myself.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely. elf elf vibes, and that's certainly part of my past life lineage for sure. Um, and I again, like in my experience of like I guess like shutting myself down or dimming my light, like I just pursued, a lot of my life is always trying to get a pursue my career. I've worked in software development for so long, for 23, 24 years, buying bigger houses, getting promotions. And I did some music. I was in some covers band for about 5 years, but I hadn't written a song um, before I had an awakening in 2017. I didn't write a song since about 2003. And so for that time frame, I was really just kind of asleep to what was is now it's like the biggest
Dang.
part of me. But before then, when I was in my early teens, I did do music a bit. I didn't play any instruments, but I did a lot of electronic music, and it's like that before and after is really interesting because for me, um, yeah, like just me, summer 2017, I'd probably look at the version of me now and think like that guy's crazy. And but he's so happy. Like, why is he so happy? And I it's for me definitely a huge part of exploring the inner child.
Yes. Yeah. See, f for me, I never stopped writing, but I definitely went through phases of performing live or not, because
Mhm.
New York City is a little bit intimidating in that, especially back when I was auditioning and going to auditions and stuff, which would be you'd look at the paper. This was before the internet. I mean, I'm dating myself now, but this is before the internet. And I would look at the back of the paper. I think it was called Backstage magazine at the time, and you'd look for auditions and stuff. And it was kind of scary, especially as a younger female, to just go to some of these auditions and you'd see they'd be like, oh, music producer looking for a singer for a band. And I was like, okay, let me go. And then you go and all of a sudden it's somebody's house. It's not even like a studio. And I was like, what the heck? So I got kind of weary about going to auditions. So, I was always writing, but for a lot of chunks of my life, it was, if it wasn't involved in school or my local community, it was, just for myself. Like I didn't perform out in public often, but the writing was always there. But I did get, I did grow weary because, like I said, you go to a few people's houses who claim that they were producers and managers, and then you're like, oh my gosh, you know what? I think I'm going to take a break.
Yeah,
The writing was always,
I can imagine. And I'd love to learn a bit more about um, the darker side of your music as well. Um,
okay.
and I think what I'm asking is I've seen you describe videos or um, I've certainly seen it all the way through Halloween. It's like All Saints Day now, right? But it was so cool seeing you explore all those different costumes and different music styles. But I'd love to learn a bit more about the dark side and the fantasy side of your music.
Well, I feel like I have different sides, because I mean, there's the part of me that loved Disney movies growing up, like the little happy endings and all that. But then there was a very big part of me that enjoyed things like Tim Burton or, like I did like darker things. And even when it comes to stories and novels that I like reading, I typically go for the dark fairy stories where not everything works out or there's a bit of a creepy side to it because I see beauty in that too. There's
Yeah.
I think Tears for Fears has a lyric in their song Break It Down Again that I love. And they say something like they make no mention of the beauty of decay. And if you think,
Mhm.
and so that's just, I'm taking it out of context now. It's just one line, but it says they make no mention of the beauty of decay. If that's the right quote, I hope it is. But I thought that was an interesting line because even fall, like right now, I'm looking out the window and these leaves are kind of beginning to die. They're kind of falling. It's still beautiful to me. Technically,
Mhm.
they're dying, getting ready to be the trees are getting ready to be barren and just for all the winter until new leaves kind of bloom, but I still find that beautiful. So I kind of always did like dark fantasy and eeriness. Even if something is a little tragic in a story or something, I could see beauty in it because it stirs emotions, and even the sadder emotions still make you feel alive, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I kind of embrace all my parts. So there's light, but there's dark too, and I'm okay with that. I like my vampire stories and my werewolf stories and my, horror Halloween stuff too. It's not just always butterflies, I like it all.
That's
But
so cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the beauty of decay, as Christian's saying, and the oh, is that
that's
the lyric? That's so cool. Uh,
exactly the one.
and I think you'd also recently posted a like a Metallica cover, like a Nothing Else Matters, was it? Um, and
Unforgiven.
oh, Unforgiven. Um, and I I when I was a teenager, I was really into Metallica, and it was really funny because I always remember thinking all my friends um, that are into metal were always really calm, relaxed people, and
Yes.
always really lovely. And I was always like, why is that again? And then you see them when the music comes on, and they'd be so alive and animated and like roaring and like really expressing themselves. And then afterwards, they'd like just sit down and you know have a beer or just relax. And it's like there's there's something about this whole dark side of us that is often like dealt with. We're kind of taught to like be ashamed of it, like, oh, don't don't express that. It's dangerous. And uh and yet what I've learned, and especially over the last year and a half since I've been doing clearings and healings for people, is that it is extremely dangerous to ignore it. um, and I think in my life, I certainly experienced like just that suppression of just being like, you can end up,
Christian.
I ended up being like just very like always on love and light. And it is like almost like this manic denial of a part of myself. And a bit like my hoodie, which is like white and love and darkness, is like it just feels now it feels much more comfortable, like the whole spectrum.
Yes.
Um, and it gives you such, and what I love about your music is it gives you such a great like it's the full rainbow, right? It's not just the
Yeah.
part that we think people might want to see. It's the true expression of the whole of yourself. And I love that depth to your music.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I love that you said that it's dangerous to deny that part, because we I think most humans are gray. We're not all angels, and we're not all the opposite. I feel like everybody has all parts, and it's human to have a little either anger, or, I mean, not everybody's perfect. We're not all what the Instagram stories are. At least I'm not. All right, I'm not going to speak for the world. I'm going to speak for myself. So basically, I feel like I'm many things. Like, I could get upset and I can have a bad day, or I can chase a butterfly, or even roll down a hill, even still at my age, or I can be in the mood to just watch horror movies one day. And it, like you said, I think it is dangerous to deny that is human. Just like to err is human. And you can't just be all, butterflies and rainbows, because that's not how we are. That's not how emotions are. And even with metal music, I've always loved metal. And I grew up, I loved Metallica, but I loved listening to all different types of music. And I even listened to Black Sabbath, and that's okay. And these feelings that they stir within me, these songs, sometimes are intense, but that's okay too. I like those feelings as well. I'm not going to just listen to Disney songs, like love songs, and then just be like, oh, yay, two people falling in love. That's it. I won't allow myself to feel anything else. Because sometimes the adrenaline I feel from listening to metal music, I like that too. I don't know if it's just hormones. I don't know what it is, but like I hear metal and it excites me. And then I do, I don't mind the emotions they trigger. I don't mind it because it makes me feel like, oh, okay, I'm allowing oxygen to travel to different parts of my body now, and different parts of my mind. So it's not, I don't feel like it's healthy at all, like you said, to deny parts of ourselves. And humans are, we're just, it was so many dimensions. We're not just always happy. We're not always like, hello, thank you, have a nice day. Everything's perfect. Yay. That's not how, at least that's not how I am. Like sometimes I'm like, I just want to lay in bed and be in a hoodie and be in a bad mood and just eat chocolate, or, I mean, I'm human. So, I don't want to deny these parts. So the part of me that just wants to listen to metal and wear all black one day, I'll do it, because why not?
It's fantastic. Um, and have you, I don't know if you have ever had any experiences or believe in past lives?
Oh yeah, I definitely do because you know what's the biggest thing that makes me feel that? First of all, there's feelings I get beyond deja vu, beyond deja vu, where it's like, no, I've been here before. I've lived something here. I've experienced something good or bad here. But the biggest thing that makes me feel that about past lives is people. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I meet someone and literally the moment I meet them, I almost feel like I could get emotional about it. Like I've met them before, almost like me and that person used to be either whether it was we were in a relationship in a past life, or that was my mom in a past life, or that was just somebody I loved dearly and lost maybe in the past life. Sometimes I meet someone and the connection is so deep it almost makes me gasp for a minute. And I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, wait a minute. There's something deep and familiar about you. Come back here. We need to talk. So so that's the biggest thing that makes me believe in past lives is the feelings I get with certain people. And it won't happen. It doesn't happen every day. Like every day I go to the supermarket, hey, you were my mom. Hey, I don't mean that. I just mean that once in a while I meet somebody and it's just undeniable. I could feel it in my soul, like almost like there was a string connecting us all along. And now, oh, we reunited in this life. So yes, that was a long
That's
way
so
of saying,
cool. Yes, yes, yes. Um, and yeah, those experiences, I love the way you share the like the energy, the emotion first, because that's
yes.
how I experience the universe is like it's all energy first, and then the and then your mind, then my little mind tries to kick in. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And I since I had my awakening in 2017, which was in my I think it's the first meditation I'd ever done in my life. I after I think it was after about a year and a half, and I had started going through some of the experiences you're describing, but I had a reading from a friend, and they wrote out so that this they must have done a reading and then written out the three past lives.
Oh,
Um,
of yours?
yeah, and I was like, I'm like staring at this like this is me. I did these things. Um, and they were incredible. Like one was I'm gonna get embarrassed and like forget the three of them, but there was one as like um a kind of elfin warrior um back in like a version of not quite this Earth or timeline, but more like what's it called? Um, not Atlanta, not Lemuria. Um, it'll come to me. There was another one where I was like a lyran, so like a lion being, and then there was another one as a um, just a knight in England, and and I was and then they were telling me about the spirit guides as well that I had, and that were telling them this story,
Wow.
and ever since then, I was just like, I was so curious. I was like, I want to learn all about this. I have a video, and it's quite funny because I'm doing a very human thing of just like cleaning, doing cleaning at home,
Mm.
where I just describe for about 10 or 15 minutes the past lives that I know about so far. Um, and it's really funny when you because we just it's not really a practice we do, right? We don't go around with like this resume, like hey, I'm John, and I've lived in these places at these timelines as these beings around the universe, this space and time, and and yeah, when we connect with others, often you do remember the soul and the energy, but it's
Yeah.
quite difficult for your mind to connect.
Mhm.
Have you ever had any like readings or any has anyone ever like any past life was it like past life regression hypnosis where people have helped you
Not
find out?
not past lives, but I had a reading. Ooh, it was a long time ago, a long time ago, and they were quite accurate because it was about it was like dead on accurate actually, and it was about a relationship that I used to be in that I was kind of a little bit. It had just ended, and I was kind of wondering if we were. It was there was not some kind of finale to it, or if there was going to continue. And the lady told me and she was so accurate because she basically, I don't remember all the details, but she basically said, you are going to reconnect with this person long enough to realize they're not for you and you're going to be okay with it. And when she first said this to me, I was like, that's not true because I still had emotions and feelings. But then the next time I saw the person, literally something clicked within me. And when that person asked to kind of rekindle things at that point, I was like, you know what? It's not going to benefit me because, we weren't right for each other. And it did literally click at that moment. And I was at peace with it. I know she had said some other things, but my gosh, this was a very long time ago. But she was quite accurate. And, I love that. I love being open-minded enough to think that, I often think about that. Like society kind of narrows our mind a little bit sometimes. And I
Mm.
often wonder, was it that movie with, what was that movie with Brendan Fraser? Was it Encino Man? What movie was it where he was kind of raised separate from society and it allowed him to think in a separate way? I always thought, like, how much broader our minds might be if society hadn't kind of narrowed it down to be like, no, this is the way to be normal. This is a way to fit in. This is a way to do this and this. Like, if everybody was just free from childhood to
Yeah.
the toys they choose to play or to just love how they want. I don't know. Like, it would be nice if we could really explore the potential of our mind. I feel like it would be a very beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah,
It might
definitely.
pass. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember.
Um, yeah, it's super intriguing, and uh, I don't know if you've watched any of my sessions, but I do like uh, past life healings. I do like energy scans and past life healing soul retrievals to help retrieve parts of people's fragmented souls, darkness clearing, psychic gift activations. Just it's a long list that I've never really been trained in, but I've been doing a couple of sessions a week now for coming up for 2 years, and like you say, it's like and even to this day, like every session I do, like my little mind is like, I don't understand, and my heart's like, it's okay, you don't need to understand it all. It's like it's just a whole massive universe out there, and it's a journey of discovery. Just
Yeah.
like I feel like a lot of the gifts, including music, I've just picked up and developed through many lifetimes, and when because I'm sure you've seen and witnessed musicians as well, where you're like, are you sure this is the first time you've ever played that instrument? And they're like, yeah, and I literally never picked it up before. It's like that took me 3 years to get that far, and you've just picked it up and started playing it. And it is, I feel it's often related to people's past life learnings. Um, and I was really intrigued by the you have a tattoo on your back, right? Um, I think someone had posted and say like, "Show us your biggest tattoo," and you'd shown in a video on your shoulder. And I was really curious what it is.
It's a mermaid who's reflecting. She's looking into the water and she's kind of reflecting on her life. But I made her she's kind of like a fantasy mermaid. She's not it's almost like sci-fi meets fantasy because the fantasy element um her being a mermaid, but sci-fi a little bit because she's kind of almost like an alien because she's got like spiky hair like a sea urchin and stuff. So she's not like the typical Ariel, I guess, mermaid.
Yeah,
But I've always loved mermaids and just mythological creatures and just, dryads, just any kind of, fantasy creatures in general. But I always like to reflect on my own life and reflect on everything, the good, the bad, where I'm going, where I came from. So it's kind of just reminiscent of that, on the fact that I'm always kind of just trying to be self-aware and, you know, and my love for mermaids. It's pretty much it.
that's so cool. Um, yeah, definitely a fan. And I I wasn't really into mermaids until I think until I started getting past life memories, and a lot of that came up through meeting others. There was a couple of client sessions I'd done, and they're like, John, I remember you. In fact, you're here. in like when we were back in there was I think there was Lemuria and then also Atlantis as well, and quite a few different lives, and there was also one from that first reading I was describing. That was one of the lifetimes was like a shape shifting mermaid, and it didn't they didn't quite go into the detail, but it was like when I was swimming, I'd be like a mer. I think it was male, a merman or merfolk. I don't know what the term is. Um, and then, but it could also like get up onto land and like stand and walk. And and I was like, okay, I'm curious. And yeah, when I saw your, I'm often like super intrigued when I connect with people, and you often they just want to show their light, and it's always like a real blessing when you get when they're comfortable enough to show their darkness too. And when I saw your tattoo, I was like, I think I know someone that looks just like your from a past life. That looks just like your tattoo. Um, yeah, I'll have to. I won't say who it is, but I'll have to DM you and let you know. But yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Did
Um,
you by any chance ever watch, speaking of embracing your dark, did you ever see Penny Dreadful? Do you
I
remember that
don't
series?
I don't think so. No.
It was a series that I think it was on Showtime or it was on some network. I won't talk too much because this is kind of off topic, but slightly on topic, I guess. But basically,
It's all
I won't spoil it in case anybody here wants to see it. But one of the characters spends the majority of the show of the series kind of denying her darkness. So it
mm,
shows, I'll say, because I don't want to say anything in case anybody wants to watch it and they haven't, but she basically tries really hard to be good because she was raised in, to believe that she needs to be good, she needs to be a good girl and everything, and but she felt darkness inside her and she refused to ever acknowledge it because it made her feel guilty that there was anything besides light and perfection within her.
yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting notion to depict in a series is that she was battling her inner self, really. Because aside from the light and the fact that she wanted to do good, there was also the darkness, but she felt like she wasn't allowed to embrace it. And I
Mm,
felt like I could relate to that because, again, I feel like we all have everything, a little bit of everything in us. We're not, I don't think anybody's perfect, and I know I'm not. So I like to, even when I first did my first dancing videos, I had a few people make comments like, what happened to your harp music, your relaxing harp music? What's up with dancing?" And I'm like, well, that's also, and I couldn't tell if they were asking out of curiosity or they didn't like it. But to me, I'm like, well, that's another part of me too. So
yeah.
I'm sorry if some people won't like it, but I'm gonna embrace that the dancing has always been a part of my life too. So, and it's not all, I guess, I don't want to say PG or I don't know what I want to call it. But the point is that, there's different
It's not a
aspects
lot.
of I of it.
And yeah, and I love that you so freely like show and share all aspects of you. I think it took me uh probably around 800 or 900 songs, and I was doing a song every day. So about that time frame, a couple of years, to then realize I don't think I've written a sad song. I'm like, what's going on here, John? Like, what are you hiding? Um, and and I think one of the really powerful things for me about uh, the darker aspects of us is connecting with why you enjoy it. Um, and because when you hide it, it's like it's still there,
Yes.
and it's like when you get a closet at home and you just like stuff all the bad stuff. Like if you got all your lovely food and like all the nice things from your house and just stuffed in the cupboard and left it for 2 years, like you can pretend it's not there, but it stinks. And
Yeah.
it's also it's just like this has this gravitational pull to like pull more and more uh darkness and like shame in. And you're like, no, I'm fine. Look at my white closet and my nice clean apartment. Um and yeah, I felt like that. And when I started just getting into some, and I haven't written that many metal songs or darkness songs, but sometimes I think what I'm starting to appreciate now is it's also the connection of being able to express that energy and release it, and then
Mhm.
say, oh, I actually enjoy being sad sometimes. I want to show the world that here's me sad and upset or angry, and this is me. I'm actually enjoying it. Like watch me being miserable and like I know sometimes people like cry and they're like I want to be sad and you to see me being sad because I'm enjoying that. And it's such a human thing. It's such a dichotomy, I absolutely love that.
Because it feels like a release, because like you said, it is within us. So to deny it is silly because if plus you could it'll make other people feel good too. It'll make us feel good as musicians, but I feel like it'll make other people feel good as listeners because now they have something that's not happy-go-lucky that they can relate to when they're not feeling their best. So that's why I've always felt like I've written lyrics in songs that sometimes my first instinct is, "Ooh, I shouldn't put it out there. That's too vulnerable." Or, "Oh, I shouldn't put it out there. That's a little embarrassing." But I'm like, "No, it's okay." Because I don't mind being vulnerable because if I could connect with anybody through my music and they could be like, "Oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. I felt like I connected through your music." To me, it was worth it to be vulnerable or to show
Mm.
a little darkness or to show a little sadness because if I could connect to other people through my music, which is my greatest dream, then I feel like, okay, I put my emotions out there and someone valued it. Maybe not everybody will, and that's okay. My goal has never been like, oh my gosh, everybody better like me. That's never been my goal. My goal is if I could connect with any people, I would rather have less fans and have them be true friends and fans than go viral. I going viral and all that has never been my goal. It never will be my goal. I could care less. Like I always cared about, I like to connect with people because we are social creatures. And if we could connect through the fact that, hey, I'm human, you're human, we both have some not so good days. And because if every song, think about it, if every song was a happy song, then how are sad people going to relate to something? What can sad people listen to that'll help them get through it? Or if every song is a love song, then somebody who's never fallen in love, what could they enjoy? Like you have to I like to talk about heartbreak too, not just love. Or
Yeah.
being not just being with somebody at all times, or being lonely or sad, not just being happy. Like I like to talk about it all because I feel it all. And I'm definitely a highly sensitive person too, so I feel a lot. So it comes out in my songs. Like if I'm upset, I'll write a song where I'll kind of sound bitter. And I'm okay with that. Not all my songs are going to be, I'm not writing for Disney, I'm writing for me. So it's okay. If my songs are bitter, I allow them to be because I'm allowing myself to feel my emotions. I'm not holding it in. And if it's not pretty, that's okay.
Exactly. That's so beautiful. Yeah, it's you, exactly. It's the whole you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thanks to I'm not really keeping I'm not being an amazing host and keeping up with the chat. I am watching as people are commenting and just to say thank you for your beautiful comments and
Yep.
also
Yep.
thanks for the roses. Um, yeah, I something I've been practicing. I think Sheila's on, my dear friend Sheila. I've been practicing with her. Like we've been when we're chatting. Um, uh, like sharing like a shadow a day, and it's where you have to describe something that's dark that you enjoy, and you're what really resonated like you're describing like the number of followers or like being able to how many people listen to your music and through the 4 or 5 years I've been creating music every day, it's been like I didn't realize for quite a few years that it was an addiction where I'd like create my song, feel so happy, put it out to the world, and then I'd like wait for comments, and then it'd just be these, I'd get triggered. I'd be like, no one's commented in like 40 minutes. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, where am I going with my life? And it's just like, and it's so, and in hindsight, it not only was it quite ridiculous, but it's quite disrespectful to all the beautiful people that I'm so truly humbled by when they do connect.
Yes.
Because if 4 years ago you'd given me 1 million followers, I would have just been that train wreck car crash of me, which was back then with 1 million followers. And like I would have never worked through as many shadows and helped like find all the depths of me and met so many amazing people and developed like psychic gifts and all these things that I never would have gone there. And it's so easy to just still be called back to that trigger. It's like I can't remember what triggered me yesterday. I think it was just a friend who was doing really well, and I was like, "Oh, poor me," and that it just caught myself, and I realized, John, you're enjoying this. Like you're actually enjoying the emotion of that lack, that fear, and I really enjoyed that because I was like, caught you. Like I know what
Yes.
that is, and I'm going to tell the world because I know I'm not the only person that feels like that. And I think that's such a big part of healing. It's like you're dragging it out of the closet, like, okay, come and show everyone. Here's all the stuff I've been hiding, um, and come and dance with me. Let's get it out there.
Yeah. And then also to quote, I'm like totally geeking out music wise today, but to quote another musician, Aerosmith has a line that goes, "Life's a journey and not a destination." I've
Yeah,
always loved it too because it's so true. Because if you think to yourself, oh no, if you have a goal, at least this is how I feel. So when I think to myself, I have a goal, and if I know that it might take a few months to get there or even a few years, if I haven't reached that, I'm like, oh no, look at me, I failed until I've reached there. That's a horrible way to think. So I kind of
yeah,
look at it, oh, here I am today. I feel like one step better than I was yesterday. Or, uh-oh, sometimes I may take two steps back if I don't get the gig I wanted, or if a gig gets canceled or something like that. But even if that happens, I'm like, that's okay. Even this failure was part of my journey, and then I'll get the next gig. Like I try to just keep moving forward, whether I fail, whether I don't get the gig, whether somebody doesn't like my music, or whether I enter a contest and I don't win. I'm like, it's all right, because in hindsight, I am still steps ahead than I was in my past, like a year ago.
yeah.
So I don't really I try not to look at it as failures. I just try to look at it, okay, this was a smaller stone towards the my goal, and now this is a bigger step towards my goal. I try to look at it as still steps forward, but just smaller step versus a big step, rather than just total steps backward, if that makes sense. Did that make sense? I hope it
It makes perfect sense. Yes, yeah. That journey is incredible, and I always feel like every time, like if you had this where you must have had this where you're like you're creating a song. I think I get it most days. Create a song, and I'm like halfway through the first take or something. A lot of the time it's just one take, but sometimes it takes me two or three takes to record a song, and then I'll lose it. Like I'll lose the song, and I'm like, I am so devastated. I will never create that song ever again like that. And I used to be like so distraught. I'd just be so gutted when it happened. And now I'm appreciating it's like now I'm much more relaxed, which is my belief about it is that the universe is saying, no, 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 that's not the one that you will share with the world. Like
Yeah,
that's not the one for you to share. You're going to share. It's I don't think there's anything such like better or worse, but you're going to find something that's different, and it's for a
yeah,
reason. And
yeah,
it's not always the reason that you're conscious of. And I love that when you're creating music, it's like the mistakes that we think we're making as musicians. But like my perfectionist is always like, John, you didn't play the guitar well, you hit a bum note there, you're like your singing's off. And then you listen back or you play it to someone else and they're literally crying,
yeah,
telling you that it's so beautiful. And you're like, and all you can hear is like, this howling version of yourself. And you're like, why do you like that so much? And then they describe it to you, and you see the beauty, and you're like, oh wow, like I would, if I just stuck with that old version that was, disposed of by the universe, I never would have seen this version. I never would have seen this
well,
beautiful opportunity.
I don't know if you're like me, but I'm my own worst critic for sure.
Yeah,
I'm definitely I don't care what trolls come around. I'm my own worst critic. So, and definitely what I hear in my head, like you said, like I'll even when I do something live at a gig or anything, I'll mess something up, mess up a note, and then I will watch the recording later on, and I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought, but in my head, I thought it was the worst train wreck in the world. Like if I hit the wrong note or anything. And that's taken me a long time to just not care about anymore. As if I play the wrong note or if my voice cracks. That was always like something that, but now I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Just get back on and just keep singing. Just, okay, wow, you messed up. You just keep going. Because even when I used to rehearse music at home, even before I was out in public. When I would practice at home, I would get upset if I messed up a note and I'd be like, "Ugh," and then I'd start the whole song again. But I was like, that's not teaching me anything because if I'm at a live gig and I'm used to practicing my songs and interrupting myself and starting again, that's not teaching me to perform live. So then what I started teaching myself to do is even when I rehearsed at home, I would just keep going. And then
Yeah,
that taught me to not make faces and that taught me to not panic if I played the wrong note. And even that, I was like, to err is human, like whatever. I played the wrong note, oh my gosh, no one's coming to see me because I'm perfect. They're coming to see me because we connected. They like my music or we're friends or something like that. And we're connecting via music. No one's coming to like even when I watch concerts, I don't go there because I'm like that person's perfect. That's why I bought the ticket. I go there because I'm like I want that music to make me feel something. So,
yeah.
and it's okay to even feel embarrassed, even that, whatever. A little bit of adrenaline helps you get going through the day and you just keep moving forward. That's what I try to do.
I love that. I when I was in a covers band, like every weekend we go and play around. We're like in a rock covers band. We go and play around Scotland and the north of England, and we'd go to the craziest places. And I'd often be most of the time I was sober, and I'd be like dancing on bars and climbing stuff. I had a wireless microphone. I didn't play guitar at the time, and it taught me so much about just keeping going. It didn't really matter, like as long as you kept safe and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and avoided any fights that broke out, and just and you can always tell, like if you're in a room for a little while, you can tell things are like escalating. The energy like totally changes. But yeah, I love you got me into looping again, and I tried that briefly, and then I did a few songs. I think it's like 6 songs or something. And like your looping skills are like they are impeccable. And I was thinking, I wonder like how do you learn like to layer like so smoothly and so fast? And then I have a gig on Thursday, and I don't you probably know I don't play live that often, and I'm gonna just my plan is just to at about 2 or 3 hours I'm just gonna improvise songs and loop. So I was practicing looping, and it's like actually it's not the happy path you should learn, it's the mistakes. It's like
Yeah.
every time that you press the wrong thing and it goes wrong, like what do you do? And it's like, oh yeah, you can just like hold down the pedal and keep playing over it. And then once you catch your rhythm again, like just create, record the part again and then start building up your loop again. It's like, this is much better than just learning. Because
Yeah.
you're literally standing there, and I've done that before, or just like in a gig, and you just like freeze. I'm like, oh, I don't ever want to be in that emotion again. Just
I
keep
know.
going through it.
Yeah, oh, I still mess up plenty of times with the loop pedal, but it's been fun. It's been fun because since it's always been me, I mean, I was only in a band once, and that was like a brief thing, and it wasn't for me. That particular band wasn't for me. But because I love collaborating with musicians, but I've always been just the sole songwriter and, one woman band. So the loop pedal helped all the sounds that are in my head kind of come to fruition because I always love playing with harmonies and everything, but since it's always been me singing, there was only just one voice unless it was a studio recording. But for live performances, it's been really fun to use it, but I still mess up all the time. I'm still learning. I mean, still things I learned. It's not like I know how to use it in my sleep. I still will mess up and I'm like, oh, I didn't press it, or I'll, hold it down instead of tapping it. So I still mess up, but it's okay.
It's so cool, and I love the like when you're looping, you create it creates such space, right? And I find that hard, so much harder when I'm just strumming away and singing because I always feel like I just have to like fill the airwaves with some lyrics. Like I find it hard to just kind of reflect on the energy and the vibe that's coming through.
Yeah.
Um, and and yeah, I always feel like the longer that I listen to your songs, because sometimes you'll say in a message, you'll say like, wait for the build up or something. And I'm like you got me at like the start. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm waiting for anything. But yeah, I really love that space. And you also like create, you always experiment with such different, sounds, like
Yeah.
distortion one,
Yes.
um, the harp, and also like your tapping away and drumming. You said you have a drumming, background as well.
Yeah.
Like what inspires you to explore new sounds?
Oh, well, because I feel like literally, I mean, I can hear an alarm or I can hear a dog bark or I can hear the wind and it'll kind of inspire something or it'll trigger something within me and I'll think to myself, that would be cool if I added this, if I added this. So I can hear everything's musical to me. I don't know why. But everything's musical to me, even the way someone sings in a sing-song voice sometimes, or so everything inspires me, and I'm always like tapping on the table even. So, or you see how sometimes in even that Broadway show like Stomp, like you see people making sounds with like a broomstick. I mean, just anything could really make rhythm or music. So I kind of like hearing music all around us. Um, so with the tapping on the harp, I do love percussion, but I also do it just to keep a certain tempo. So when I add all the other layers, it's a matching tempo. But it also sounds fun to me because it's not a very common sound. Like usually people will use a drum or will use some official percussion instrument, where to me,
Yeah,
why not use the harp itself? The soundboard makes a cool sound, especially if I play it through a pedal, like a metal pedal. It sounds like it has almost like an industrial sound to it. It just
yeah,
changes and I like it because it makes it sound more unique than just using just a drum, because then it adds atmosphere. And I like using things like that, or even droning sounds. Like sometimes I'll put my harmonica through one of the pedals and it doesn't even sound like a harmonica anymore, but I'm like, that's cool.
cool.
I like it.
I love that. I was wondering, have you ever tried playing like the harp or other instruments with crystals?
You mean the actual strings or just with
Yeah,
them near me?
yeah, the strings, yeah.
Well, that would definitely cut the strings because the strings are so delicate, the gut strings of a harp. But I always have
Mm.
crystals. I even have, I mean, I have crystals right here, right now. Like I have crystals all around anyway. So literally, they're all around me at all times. But you have to be very delicate when it comes to touching like the actual strings. Like even that's why harpists, if you've ever noticed, like we have no nails. Like we have to
Yeah,
file down to like the softest part of our fingertips.
wow,
Even your nail can break a string.
no
So,
way.
like to do is I like to add different effects on the harp by like I'll kind of weave a strip of paper through the strings and it makes it sound almost percussive. I've done things like that, but to
Yeah,
actually with a crystal, it would actually just pop a string.
because I'd never heard of it being done, and last week I think I started with this, which is uh,
Labradorite, right?
Labradorite, yes. In fact, I have two, and they so this one I can't really show it on the. You really need an electric guitar, but I was basically just like sliding it up and down like this to um. I really don't know what will happen on the, but like this anyway. And I was playing like a solo, and I was like, that sounds incredible. I never tried it, and then I thought, or maybe I should try this, which is an obsidian arrowhead.
Beautiful.
Um, and it's it is sharp. Yeah, I think it probably would, by the sounds of it, cut through like a harp string.
Wait,
But when I played it on the electric guitar, um, the tones, like these kind of overlaid tones on top of, like, every time it touched the string, it was like it just sounded like a whole spectrum of colors in the notes. I was like, where's this been all my life? It's like I've been collecting crystals for a while, and it never occurred to me to try them both. And so I did do one song with with two of them together, and that was like, I can't guarantee the notes were super accurate, but it was super fun.
probably try that on my hammer dulcimer or my bowed psaltery because those are metal strings, so they wouldn't be as delicate. But definitely, yeah, the harp string, gut strings are what they use also on some violins, and I don't know if they still use it for tennis rackets, but they used to use it for tennis rackets, and they're organic material, so they're
Yeah,
super delicate. They even break when the weather turns. Like if it's a humid day, the strings could pop. So they're super, super. That's one thing that took a lot of adjusting when I learned the harp, that you have to tune your harp all the time because they say that a harpist spends half of their life tuning their harp and the other half of their life playing out of tune because that's how often they get out of tune. It's crazy. But I should try that with the crystals with a hammered dulcimer because the metal strings would hold up.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was it was it's
What's your
super fun. So,
what's your favorite crystal?
um, I think I think it's this one. Well, I had two around my neck. I think that's a rose. I think that's a rose quartz. This one,
Oh, I love
and
rose quartz.
that was from my daughter, and I just wear that on my heart. And then this one. Now I think I've forgotten. I don't think it's selenite, but is it a quartz? I think. Um, and it was, and they um like when I got into the energy healing, it was after I'd had an energy healing from someone else. And I remember like at the time I was working like full time in my corporate day job. I'm just 3 days a week now, and I used to like build up such stress in my body, and it always felt like this big kind of cloud in my upper chest. And the only way I could get rid of it was like going on holiday until I had my first energy healing, and it was completely remote. And I was like, when my friend did it, like this energy is like it's totally cleared, and
Nice.
and she said, oh, you should wear these crystals, like you'll never get that sensation back. You'll
Yeah.
never feel like that again. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I don't have this perpetual feeling of needing to vacation like
Yeah.
every single day of my life just to get over the stress. Um,
I love bringing this full circle about the energy because I definitely believe in that. And my two favorites, it's hard to pick favorites because I love, but my two favorites are fluorite and amethyst, which I actually have right here because I always have them near me. So this is my, I don't know if you could see it, but
yeah.
that's my amethyst. And this is actually my fluorite sphere. I have different fluorite, but
Oh,
just
cool.
of this one, especially the fluorite. So I've always loved them. I feel their energy and I burn sage too. Do you ever burn sage? Do you ever smudge
I
or no?
have um I have never done it. And then
Good.
a friend gave me some sage just last week. And I was like, I'm like a sage virgin. I've never done it. Which is really
I
funny given my line of clearing work.
Yeah, it helps me. I feel like it helps. I love burning some sage, opening the windows, letting out all that bad energy. I always love it. It helps. I feel like it helps.
So cool. And I I wasn't sure if you'd be open to it, but we could if you've got time, we could spend 10 minutes and connect to your like your guides and do a quick reading if you'd like it.
Actually, that would be cool, but I also wanted to ask you some questions music-wise too.
Yeah, yeah, sure, go for it. Of
What I
course.
was gonna ask you for as far as if you collaborate with people and because I was curious about that and I was wondering what draws you to, if that makes sense, I guess, but what draws you to collaborate with somebody, or do you collaborate with people?
Yes, I do collaborate with people. I don't know how many collaborations I've done, something like 130. I have like a playlist on my uh, YouTube channel. It's about the only way to keep count. And I've collaborated with like dancers, poets, artists, like who like paint or draw. Uh, some people who have, I don't know, I kind of feel like everything, and of course musicians. For me, it's always the energy first. Like I always just feel like when I connect with someone, I'm just like, and I must admit, years ago, I didn't really know that's what I was doing. It just felt insanely right. It felt like I'd just seen this person, and a couple of times I've barely spoken to them. I've said just like chat and just said hello, let's collaborate, and then I'm suddenly thinking, God, I'm so forward. Why am I being so forward? Surely I should just get to know them first. And it's just like, no, I'm totally certain. Like I think this would be amazing. Um,
Oh,
and what I increasingly love is like collaborations that just uh, that I find very difficult to do for whatever reason. So it could be like I've done a few that are, I guess you'd regard them as musically, technically very difficult to do because the music is very chaotic or unpredictable. And then there's others that are just like either me just singing, so it's out of my comfort zone of guitar and singing, or just guitar, or just doing a meditation. Um, and yeah, I absolutely love collaborating. And I'd super love to collaborate with you as well. That'd be amazing.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love see I love that you feel that way because I feel like that with energy again. Like it'll be a certain energy. See, that's the theme that keeps going around. But it's so true. Like you'll feel a certain energy and you're like, yes, this feels right. Yes, this is the step that needs to be taken. I love that you feel that way too, because I feel that way. It's so energy is very important. But and another thing I was curious about is do you feel that if you had started, because with meditation you started later in life, you said?
Mm. Yeah, in
Do you,
2017. Yeah,
I'm sorry? You said,
in
oh,
2017.
okay. So do you feel that, because I feel that even if I've learned, and I wanted to see if you felt this way too, there's things that I've learned later in life that sometimes I find myself saying, oh gosh, I wish I had learned this earlier in life, right? I don't know if this ever, because even with harp, because with harp, I only learned harp 8 years ago. I was playing other instruments way before then, and then since childhood piano. But with harp, I only started playing around something like 8 years ago, and there's so many times where I feel it's kind of a regret that's out of my hands because it's not like I had a harp teacher around me or a harp in my school, or it's not like I had the means to have a harp when I was a child. But sometimes I find myself almost regretting, like, oh, I wish I had learned this earlier in life. But then other times I feel like, you know what? No, I was meant to learn it when I learned it because my mind was ripe enough at the time. And I feel like in the short time I've known whatever subject it is, whether it's music or harp or anything, I feel like, this has been the journey I was meant to be on. Do you feel like that ever? Sometimes where even if you've learned something later in life, you're just grateful it happened. It doesn't matter that it didn't happen, long. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And yeah, I definitely went. That was how I felt a lot of the time as I started to discover. Like, and same with me. I'd only I played some guitar. I think I knew like four or five chords in like the early 2000s, and I just stopped until about 2017 when my life restarted. And and it's really funny because I reflect on it from my experience. It feels like these are things I've just learned over lifetime after lifetime. Like I cannot explain how I learned. I find it very hard to teach how to people to do the energy work I do, or like negative entity clearing, or the healing aspects, because literally, uh, for me, it was just a friend in a reading said to me, you're gonna here's a mission from Mother Earth. She wants you to take this on, and we can't tell you how to do it because that'll totally ruin it. Like no one can tell you how to do this. You're just going to do it, and all we see you doing is holding out your hands and sending out light to people. And I was like, it sounds great. How do I do it again? and and then I just practiced on friends and like just started doing it like once or twice a week. And only recently do I realize that I've been doing this for lifetimes, and it's the only way I really understand. Like my soul gets it. Like it doesn't really matter when in this lifetime it happened, but it had to be right. Like I had to be pretty grounded and in a pretty good, safe space in my life. Because and also that work demands so much. What's the word? Like self care, and like it's exhausting to do like self care and balance. And music for me is like that too. It's like I yes, I wish I'd started playing guitar when I was like 12 or 13, and I wish that I'd done, now I learned bass guitar and drums and stuff about three years ago. Of course, I wish I'd started earlier, but at the same time, like I never really would have put in the time or really stuck it out or probably played the right things or had the same open mindedness to do it and until now. And so it's almost like now is the right time, it's the right energy and vibration for me to step into these gifts.
Knew you'd understand. I knew you'd understand. You said it way better than I could have said it because that's exactly how I feel. Because even with social media, something as simple as social media, I had people telling me for years because I was kind of anti-social media for a while and I was kind of avoiding it. I mean, I had Facebook like years ago, but then still at the height of it, I kind of quit because I was kind of tired of the energy that was coming from it because I found that when I had social media in the past, I was really trying to push my music out there, but somehow it was always people from my past that I didn't care to coming around. And I was like, this is taking up too much time and stressing me out. And I'm not getting the goal I want. So I had cut social media off for a lot of years. And I had a lot of people tell me that, oh, you're making a big mistake. You should be doing social media. You'd be reaching more people with your music. What are you doing? And, so there's times where even that I regret because I only started, I think I'm approaching my 1 year anniversary now on TikTok. And I had a few people tell me, oh, you should have started it long ago. And I'm like, you know what though? I wasn't ready. And
Yeah,
I was thinking about it. It was always something I was like, maybe I will. But you said it so beautifully. It's just when you feel the time is right and when you're ready, you'll know. So, because even with another regret that I finally stopped regretting a couple of years ago, but for a long time I was like, darn it, I should have done it. Out of high school, um, I had gotten scholarships through a songwriting competition that I had entered. But at the time I was writing very different type of music. I was doing a little more electronica, a little more pop, and also R&B, just kind of a fusion, but just very different. Like I went more folk as I got older. Um, and I like to kind of categorize my music now as like dark fantasy folk because I don't know, that's kind of how it sounds in my head. Because again, a lot of it is inspired by nature too, and a lot of it is written in minor chords, so hence the dark part. But I remember, I even had people tell me you had scholarships and you didn't go to college right after high school because I didn't. I took some years off to work and I was
yeah,
working instead of having gone to college. And a lot of people were like, you didn't use those scholarships? What's wrong with you? You could have made it, or you could have this, you could have that. And let's just say there was a chance I could have quote unquote made it. I feel like I would have been burned out. Being in the position I am now,
mhm,
I'm so grateful I didn't make it or anything like that back then because looking back on the music I was writing back then, I wouldn't have wanted to make it. Not to say that, you know, that was my so I'm past it. Oh, okay. So I'm past
wow,
the first.
congratulations.
So looking back, I'm not ashamed of my journey. I'm not ashamed that that's the type of music I used to write back in the day, that I was writing more like pop or anything. I'm not ashamed of it at all. However, I wouldn't I feel like if I would have made it, quote unquote, having written that type of music, I would have never been inspired then to pursue other instruments. I would have never found my harp. I would have never
Yeah,
found the voice that I sing with now, which is more, folky and this type of stuff. I would have never explored that because the demand of, having had gigs as a pop artist would have been so hard on me and so time consuming that I would have never explored different types of music. So I just feel like no matter what happens in life, when it happens to you, I just like to be grateful for when it comes, even if it comes later. So
yeah,
right now, super happy with the music that's coming to me, and I'm super grateful every time I put my fingers on my harp string. I'm like, I'm so grateful I even have a harp, so I'm just happy that I'm at where, it's not everything's perfect. Things could be better, things could always be worse too, but I try to just be grateful for what I have when I have it.
I love
But
that. I love that so much.
I knew you'd feel the same way that like when you're ready, when you know, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I do feel that it's easy. It's really tempting to copy other people, and and a lot of people spend a lot of time, and I think quite a lot of people make quite a lot of money, um, trying to make other people copy them, or the same pattern. Like, here's how it worked for me. I'm like, I can't, like, if when these things happen later in your life, like, I can't imagine trying to sell that to someone. Like, hey, good news. Like, when you're about 17, you'll like your family will like divorce. you'll go to university and almost drop out. You'll spend your whole life on what you think is going to be your life, chasing a career that never fulfilled you. And then when you really feel at your lowest point and you feel like the whole world's already ended, then you're gonna like step into this whole new world. And I'm like, can I skip the first part? That sounds really painful. And and it's like, no, 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 you have to do that because otherwise, like you won't know what all your shadows are. You won't know what all the things are you need to overcome in order
Hmm.
to step into this better version of yourself. Like, oh, okay. Um, and
You have
it's
to experience.
it's I remember when I first um it's around 2017, 2018, and someone said to me, a friend said to me, you know, John, you're a talented musician. You should just stop singing about all that spiritual stuff. I mean, who's going to listen to you? And I'm like, and I think I just said, well, I don't really care, to be honest. I said, I love like
Yep.
expressing what matters to me. And of course, I could do loads and loads of cover songs, and I do enjoy playing them. I have so many favorite songs, but I want to create, and I want to create my music my way.
Exactly.
And it also often like just steers me a bit away from like I absolutely love collaborations, and I love collaborations sometimes as a band with people, like doing like a few songs or maybe do an album together with other people. Um, but to I would feel very um, constrained being in a band again. I'd feel I'm not ready for that yet. Um, and I think that that's a kind of that helps me feel so grateful for um, this like infinite abundance. I just feel like once you feel like you're tapped into your infinite abundance, you don't really want others to say, "Well, you should or shouldn't do that."
Yeah. Well, for me, I love everything you just said, and I agree so much. But one thing I wanted to add to that is for me, another thing that's very important is for it to sound to just be organic to me. It has to be organic. Like, sure, you can follow a certain formula. Oh, okay, so and so made it. They did that with boy bands. They did that with so many things where they're like, this worked. That was a good formula. All right, here's the new whatever band. Here's the new Kids on the Block, or here's the new NSYNC, or here's the new. To me, it's like all these formulas. Sure, they work. Okay, that nice, but I care to connect to people who get my music. I don't care to make $1 million. I don't care to be famous or to be recognized in the street or, I don't care for any of that. To me, it has to be my music because it's very personal to me. I feel like they're all my little babies out there. Like I feel like I gave birth to all these little music babies and they're my babies. So I have to be true to them and I have to be true through my lyrics. And like I said, kind of like to what I said, to add on to what I said earlier, I'd rather relate to less people, but they actually really get me
Yeah,
than write something that I don't really feel is true to me just so I could reach a larger audience. Like that's not what's important to me. Like to me,
yeah,
if I could put my honesty out there and then people kind of gravitate to it because they can relate to it, that's magical to me. Like that's just magical to me. So I've had people, and even recently I've had people in my life tell me, you know what, you should do more upbeat music. Or how come this song doesn't have a chorus? This song, this goal. How come this song doesn't have a typical structure? Verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus, chorus. You know, do the formula. Like because that song didn't come to me that way. I feel like songs are almost like wisps. Remember, like in Brave? Tell me you've seen
yeah,
Brave because it's one of my
yeah,
favorites.
yeah,
So there's these beautiful little wisps. I feel like music comes as little wisps that you can either accept and develop as a song. So there's something very magical and spiritual to it, to the songwriting process to me. So I want to honor the song. If it comes to me and there's no bridge, then I'm not writing a bridge. And I've had people tell me, but that's not proper structure. I'm like, I'm sorry, but when it comes to art, I don't believe there should be structure. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying this I'm the right way or this is the right way, but in my opinion, just my personal opinion, art shouldn't have a structure because that's why it's art because it's free. There's so many things that have structure, like the medical industry, engineering, math. Like there's so many things that have structure, but music and art, in my opinion, shouldn't. Like I'm just again just my opinion, but like if I want to paint and my painting looks different than somebody else's painting, that's fine because it's my artistic expression. And it's okay if out of 10 people in the room, only two people like it. That's fine too. Because I'm not trying to please everybody. If I do please people, bonus, wonderful. But when it comes to my artistic expression, the most important aspect is truth. Whether it's a truth people don't want to hear or a people find boring, that's fine too. You could be bored of my music, that's fine. But it was true to me when I wrote it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So now if I can connect to people who thought to themselves, I can relate to that, that's just icing on the cake. That's a blessing if I can relate to anyone, but it has to be true to me. Even the dark aspects, like we said, you know,
I
it
love
has to
that.
be.
So yeah, to me, every song is a gift,
Yeah.
and I just feel like if I don't record it and honor it, like in the way that it came to me,
Mhm.
then it's like it's like taking a present from someone and going, "It's round. I only accept square presents," and they're like, "What?" And you just chuck it away. And I thought a present could be like anything, right? It doesn't even need to be physical, right? It could be like
A
you could
gesture.
literally, yeah, you could be nice to someone. And yeah, I've definitely had a lot of those comments. Why are all your songs too long?
Oh,
Why
I
uh,
one.
why why don't you play piano? I mean, the list goes on and on, but it's yeah, I love the freedom and also like being like challenging myself to try different things, and that's what I find really inspirational about your music is because you're always like pushing the boundaries of like something's inspiring you and you're using a different instrument or a different sound or looping something new or expressing it in a different way, and I'm like I love that because it makes me think it's very easy to find yourself in the comfort zone, right? Like you can see my comfort zone is like with a white screen behind me with an acoustic guitar, and like that would be me for literally eternity, if I didn't push my boundaries. And I think since I've started pushing boundaries, like doing things like playing songs in swimming pools, I've done one upside down, and I've done a couple in an airplane, like just whatever, like whatever I haven't done, like I love it. I love exploring that.
Absolutely. And then you grow as a person and a musician. It's a win-win-win situation. It's a wonderful experience. Now you've unlocked a new memory and you once you do that, then you're like, oh, I wonder what else I could do to push boundaries. And it's super fun to express ourselves. And it's definitely a blessing to be able to make music and express ourselves in this way for sure. Definitely I agree. But I was curious, you said what did you do for a job other than music?
Software development. Um,
Wow.
I started as my at uni. I got a degree in software engineering, and then I went into a few years
Oh,
of coding, and then I went into management, and I've been doing that for quite some time. And it's quite funny because uh, I I won't say the name of the company, but you'll know them, and they're a really big US based company, and uh, there's a big thing like that we have in the teams I manage and in our office where this concept of bringing your whole self to work. And so on Thursday I get to play music to them for a few hundred of them for 3 hours. If they're listening, they can choose to listen or not. And and I just turn up and just play just improvised music or like meditate for a bit and see what comes through. And it it's and then there's other musicians that will come in and join in as well. And I love that freedom of like I never would have done that. So not very long ago, I'd just be too terrified to take all of me to a situation which is it's pretty challenging, especially like yourself. I find the energy of 300 people around me
yeah.
uh, very intimidating. And I have to like create this little golden bubble that I sit in, and I'm like, okay, I'm here to shine, and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. Um, so yeah, I was interested. Do you have any like day jobs or jobs that
Not any,
aren't music
not any,
related?
but I used to be a hairdresser when I worked in Manhattan, when I lived in New York.
Oh, cool.
So I did that for a while. So my two main jobs, I mean, I used to do like catering on the side for Broadway shows and stuff. Whenever there would be like a Broadway show opening, I would help with the catering there. So I did that part time, but I was mainly for right after high school, uh, I worked as a hairdresser. So I did hair in Manhattan, which was fun for a time, but boy, did I hate it. I hated it after a while. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't care about hair. I mean, I feel like I made a great effort when I brush my hair, really. Like I don't sit there, you know, I don't really sit there and do anything to it. So I got kind of tired of doing that. But then also for a while I used to, and I'm dating myself again, but I used to solder tattoo needles for a tattoo shop.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, the reason I'm saying I'm dating myself is because now I believe they come pre-soldered, the needles.
Right.
Back when I was doing that, you used to actually have to use the soldering needle and solder the pieces together and then sterilize it and then give it to the tattoo artist and then they would go and tattoo the whoever the customer was. So those were my two odd jobs.
Wow, that's
But
cool.
doing this.
Yeah, I just went part time in my job, so I work 3 days a week now. I started that in April, and it was just like such a revelation for me. It was just like I now have all this time and energy to like just pursue the things that I love. You know, spend a lot more time with my family, my wife and two kids, and then also with this with music. And what I found quite funny was like not I didn't really spend any more time on music. It's a little bit more time of doing this sort of thing, but not really any more time on music. And a lot of that time and space has been to receive more, like to we do a bit more traveling. We always go away when we're not moving house. We just moved house recently, but we're we travel most weekends in our RV motorhome and go out
Oh,
and camp different places. And then
oh,
I always take my guitar, and you'll see them in videos, right? I just go and sit in a field or something when it's not too cold, and record a song in the morning. And I before the family wake up, and I just love that adventure and like waking up somewhere new every time. And definitely, we have plans when like kids are 16 and 13, so when they leave home, we'll definitely do some longer trips, of a few weeks and months.
oh.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you any longer. I've kept you on for an hour and 40. I think that's it's a long time.
I really appreciate this. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And tell me where can we? So you have so many talents. I don't want to forget all of them. So where do we find your music, your books, and anything else you create?
Yeah, my music is on Spotify, YouTube, just all streaming platforms. You know, you could just listen to it on just YouTube even. But just any streaming platform, my music's available there. And then my books are on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, just, and then paintings, I haven't really, I've only sold a couple of paintings, but so far all my paintings I've just kept for myself because I don't know, I felt like they're a little too personal, but I I have been speaking with one establishment that's kind of a restaurant, but they also sell art and they offered to sell my art. So maybe I'll be selling my art there, but I'm not sure. But all my music is available just like online, all streaming platforms.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'd love
Thank
to share this replay on YouTube, so I'll make sure I add the links in. Um, and yeah, I always get your recommendations on Spotify. It's so cool to see you across the different platforms.
you.
Um, and and do you have any plans to be doing any live streams soon?
I do actually. You know, I have a few gigs coming up soon. So I've been kind of just trying to prioritize because sometimes I have so many ideas in my head that I kind of just implode because I have things I'm like I have to do everything and then I spread myself too thin and then I kind of end up doing nothing.
Yeah,
Because I've been trying to just prioritize like okay, I have these next couple of gigs coming up. Let me concentrate on those first. And then, so I've been really busy with just practicing my set list for those gigs. because a lot of the one of the gigs I had to learn new songs for, so that was kind of challenging. It wasn't my original music, so I was like, whoop, I have to learn new songs. I better pay attention. So, but other than that, after these two gigs are up, I'm planning on doing live because I've done live a few times, but I've never been really consistent, and I've been upset with myself about that. So I'll definitely announce it though on like TikTok and Instagram if when I'm planning, not if when.
Fantastic.
People don't
Yeah,
know
and
more.
I'm at the uh, at the beginning of December. I'm this space I'm in at the moment, which is just a unconverted garage. I'm going to have a soundproof. A company's coming in to build a soundproof room, and I have like great internet now, which in Scotland is a really rare thing. So I'm really excited to be doing more live streams, and yeah, it'd be great to get you on as well. I've never really tried like collaborating live, but I can imagine like doing things like looping together and just exploring different sounds would be like that would be super fun. Uh, Even if it's not perfect, I'm sure it'll be magical. We should try it one day.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, I would love that. That sounds like fun for sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's so cool getting to know you, and really excited to share you with everyone that I'm connected with, and all your amazing arts and your music and your books and dancing and everything you create. So thank you so much for sharing your energy with the world and all your inspiration. It's a big part of my universe, and I just say a huge thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much as well. This has been wonderful. And yeah, we'll definitely do this again. I would love to do this again. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you. Well,
All
take
right.
care, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Definitely. And thank you for everyone that was watching. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. So kind. Thank you. See you. Bye.